Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome back to another session. All right, I got a new mic set up, and I'm not super sold on what I hear is kind of an echoey background, but we're going to run with it for the very least this episode, which is going to be short and sweet. Update of what to expect, what we're doing now in the world of She is Restored, and what you can expect moving forward. I did one of these probably in January. But since then, I've finished my psychology degree and I have kicked up the She is Restored coaching, counseling company, I guess is the best way to put it. I'm going to tell you all about the new things that we have going on, what we're going to be heavily focusing on here, and maybe some tidbits of just kind of life update as we go through it. I do want to keep this short and simple for you today so that it's something you can just take in, digest, and then run and go check out what we have going on. So, first and foremost, I want to start with thanking you. Thanking you for taking the time to be here time and time again. This podcast, which used to be the Rylee June podcast, which is now the She is Restored podcast, has seen many evolutions and seasons over the years, from starting off as a spiritual mediumship, intuition, psychic podcast to going through the life coaching and CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, and hypnosis, and the dialectic behavior therapy that we brought into all things life coaching, that then was transformed when I encountered Jesus, and all the spiritual stuff went out the window. And I really had to find myself in this place of, or not that I had to find myself, but I was forced to really look in the mirror of all things spirituality and what I used to know and what I was told and taught and believed and clung on to, and what that meant facing Christ and what that looked like surrendering my identity to Him. And so naturally, the evolution of the podcast happened. And I primarily focused on just like life coaching and behaviorism, but that's not enough. It's truly not enough. Even when I went through the schooling for all things psychology and am currently working to get my counseling certification, I'm realizing time and time again that first and foremost, if you're going to look just specifically through the lens of psychology, it has to be through a behavioralistic standpoint. If you are going through the lens of the somatic healing and the consciousness and the subconscious, and we're looking at Freudian's theory, and we're looking at, oh my goodness, there's like so many, but looking at any theories that are based around this like conscious personality exploration, you're going to get lost. You're going to get stuck in a hamster wheel trap where you just go over and over and over and over again, pulling apart and looking at different aspects and perspectives and different components of attachment and trauma and coping mechanisms and how you process and how you processed and what you do with that. And if you just actually take a step back from all of that, I'm going to have a little bit of Sadie in here too. Hi, Boo Boo. All right, we are back. We just had to do a little night-night routine. But just kicking back into what I was saying, if you look at habits and behaviors and navigating your psychological, emotional trauma from the lens of purely habits, you can create really great success in your life, in whatever success is determined for you. Some people it's in career building, some people it's home life building, it's in health, it's in finances, it's in relationships, in boundaries. You can create really great success for yourself through habits alone. But the one thing you can never create through habits is peace. And as I look through psychology and going through the schooling, and I look through all the things with spirituality and doing that for 6 years, it just became so abundantly clear that we ourselves cannot create peace, that peace has to come from something beyond our own understanding. And coming to Christ, that was one of the things that I not only felt, experienced, and then had the revelations through what was revealed in the Bible. And it just made so much sense. Anyone who goes to therapy of any kind for dealing with and navigating daily personal struggles or life traumas or childhood traumas or current traumas, or anxiety or depression, you're always going to find yourself in the same trap where you figure or you become aware of something, and then you navigate it and you dig it apart, and you just look at all the angles and you look at all the icebergs and you figure out where you're at, and how it's been a catalyst to you becoming who you are and how you behave today. And you could just solely look at changing your behaviors to move forward from that, but you're never really going to move forward because you don't have a peace beyond your understanding, because you don't understand that in order to forgive anyone who's hurt you, or even yourself, if you're the one who's created a lot of self-inflicted trauma, even if it was self-sabotage because of past trauma from someone else or something else, you won't be able to not only have the peace, but you won't be able to understand that you can forgive others, including yourself, because you yourself are forgiven from a good, good Father, a good, wonderful, divine, omnipresent, omnipotent God. And that was such a huge thing for me to realize. And then going through what is a very liberalized education with psychology, and just seeing that there's this heavy emphasis on acceptance and um, affirmation and like informed consent. And though I'm not knocking or disregarding those things as they are in partiality, like there is room for those things, if we're always just affirming and accepting where we're at and what we're doing, then there's actually never really a means for you to change. There's no incentive to change because you're as good as you are as you are. And so why would you change? And then you just kind of fall into this trap of accepting who you are as you are and what you're doing. And then you what? Just keep doing more of that? Whereas if we can recognize that we're actually not worthy of the forgiveness that we are given and granted and offered through the mercy of God and the grace of God, and we look at the things that we are doing and you look at it in its totality, where it's like, okay, it's not about being a good person. And it's not about works alone that helps us to become transformed. It's our faith in Christ and what he did on the cross. And through that, God gives us the grace to then be like, hey, I'm actually not doing really well with health, with finances, with falling short on my habits, with the way that I talk to other people, with the way that I talk to myself. I actually judge quite a lot. I don't temper my tongue. I find myself chasing this envy and this jealousy of other people's lives. And so I try to find a way to bring that into my own life, where I sit in bitterness because I'm not where so and so is. And it's when we're able to sit with that, we can also realize that I don't actually have to pull all my trauma apart. One of the things that became very clear to me when I was exiting the spirituality world and coming into the very infant beginning stages of figuring out who I am in Christ. And I wouldn't ever say that I think I'll ever find that in its total, like in a full picture diagram, like this is exactly who I am, other than a daughter of the High King. It was very clear that I didn't have to keep pulling apart trauma anymore. I didn't have to keep pulling apart my personality anymore. I didn't have to know what stars created what for me, and why I have these habits, tendencies, and behaviors, and these coping mechanisms, and this lack of boundary here, and these heavy boundaries here, and why I did restrictive this here and not restrictive that there. I didn't need to do that anymore. And the good news is neither do you. And that's one of the most incredible things that we get to sit with as Christians, whether you're just learning about Jesus, you're discovering him and what that relationship looks like. You're submitting to him, you're submitting to the Bible, you're maybe not new to your walk with Christ. Maybe you've been on it for a while, but you kind of feel like you've lost your way. One of the things that I really see a lot of is burnt out mothers, exhausted, anxious mothers who are so tapped out that the enemy has actually just exhausted them so much that they start to pull away from their faith. Maybe that's where you're at right now when you're coming across this. So behaviors alone, yes, you can make some really great changes, but it's actually just replacing other tendencies and habits that are rooted in trauma. Not that you also can't create a sense of healing, but you'll never have peace or grace at the core of whatever it is that you're doing. So you'll always be chasing something. Whereas the beautiful thing about walking in your relationship with Christ is you don't have to chase anything. And all habits then are created as you were in his image. You start to really ask yourself with everything that you're doing, am I doing this for vanity? Am I doing this because of jealousy or envy? Am I doing this because I'm chasing something or someone other than Jesus? And you'll figure out really quickly if you have any sense of self-awareness, even if you're just developing it, because it'll be very clear to you. See, our God is a God of clarity. He's not a confusing God. And so when you feel confused about something, it's not because you're listening to God. It's because you're listening to the enemy. And sometimes we don't realize that even in a more mature state of walking with Jesus, that there's still factions of us that will cling to the enemy. Maybe you feel like you've got it locked down in terms of like praying over things and submitting uncontrollable circumstances to God when you just find yourself in them. Or maybe with your health you feel really dialed in, maybe with your relationships you feel really dialed in, and then you come to your finances and they're not necessarily enough of a mess to think, ooh, I got to really look at this. But then there's little things of like hoarding or controlling or not trusting or withholding or overgiving or overspending, where you're like, there's something here that I'm actually not submitting to him. And so we need behaviors. We need behaviorism. But we need Jesus at the core of everything that we do. And so that's my focus with the podcast and then the services that I offer, whether it's through the advice and the support that I offer and encouragement through social media channels, or it's through the podcast here, YouTube, whether it's through booking sessions or group programs or anything related to 90 days of restoration, which is going to be my like base program that I run through and through. And I'm just going to cling to that because I've been doing it just on my own for 3 years and it has revolutionized my life in every single area. And I'm going to tell you a bit about that today. What I did create with 90 Days of Restoration is you don't necessarily have to join the group program, because I knew that when this was created, that this needed to be attainable and something that everyone could participate in, even if I wasn't a part of it. And so there is a 90 Days of Restoration workbook that you can order. It'll be in the link of the show notes, a link in the show notes for you. You can find it on Amazon as well in every country. It's also in my Instagram bio if you want to go there and find it. And then the other part to the workbook, though it is, you can go through the workbook on your own. It is very clearly laid out for you. It's a 90-day cycle working at 3 different factions of your life in 30 days at a time. So the first phase is creating order and grace over your home. The second is over yourself, so your health. And then the third is the mental component. It's your faith journey, where we really get to take a deeper look at this. In some cycles, the whole point is just to keep repeating it. Every 90 days, you just look at that one focus for each one of those phases. And it's helped me to create really great order over my home, over my health, and really revealed a lot about my faith journey, which is such a cool experience to just like go through and just have this time every 30 days where I get to really focus and hone in on my faith. It's kind of like a deep dive, if you will. And you don't have to be some super aware person to have really great revelations and breakthroughs. And women who've gone through this program before, because I started offering it 2.5 years ago before I went back to school. And then I took a break from everything in life, went back to school to get my psychology degree. And now I'm on the other side of it. And I'm like, no, that was it. Like, that was the thing. We look at habits and behaviors. There's a primary heavy focus on it, and it's all rooted in Jesus Christ. It's all rooted in scripture. It's all rooted in really submitting our identity to Him and simplifying our lives. There's so many things out there to focus on constantly. And if you're anything like me, you're probably exhausted. You're probably exhausted of getting all the advice on the internet all the time about all the things you need to change, you need to work at. And this process simplifies everything. And it focuses and looks at the very things that you feel stuck and in chaos with: your home, yourself and health, and your journey with your faith, your walk with Christ. And all other things fall into such great alignment in that place because you're doing it with the focus of becoming more and more involved in your relationship with Jesus. So it's a really awesome experience to go through it. So you can do the workbook, and it is fully laid out with all the instructions in it, and you can follow it and you can double in on it all on your own at home. Or you can join the program where I send you a workbook and we go through 90 days together as a group, and you get all the encouragement and the support, and any questions you have, you get the counseling support around that. And there's a wonderful Facebook group where if you have any questions, you can share all the things that you're learning and that you're questioning and that you're confused with as you go through to select your one thing you focus on for each month with a group of people, which is really awesome. So that is the bread and butter. You can find everything that I do and everything that I'm focusing in on right now at Traditional Christian Counseling with 1L.ca. And it'll have all the services and the programs and all the things, and even some really fun and exciting programs and services to come. So one of the things that I am going to be integrating into my practice is having a naturopath, like a nutritionist, come on to be able to send you for labs. So when we are really doubling in on that health component, you can actually go and have the testing done and get the specified results and information that's tailored directly to you about where you're at, so you can know what's going on in your body instead of being like, okay, for this 30 days, I'm going on a diet. Well, it might not be a diet thing that you need. Most times it's not. It might actually just be that you need more nutrients. Maybe there's something that you're eating that's actually causing a lot of the brain fog and inflammation in your body. And so for 30 days, you just like, we're going to remove that one thing. And so you get that consult and that support through the service. So I'm working out bringing on a practitioner to be able to help us with that. And I'm really excited about that service to come. But in the meantime, we have the 90 Days of Restoration group program. We have the segregated workbook. If you want to just grab one for yourself on Amazon and go at it at home and tag me in it. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me at _she_is_restored on Instagram. And we also have the one-on-one counseling sessions. So you can jump into a 90-minute call with me there, and we can really look at what's going on in your life, and we can create a plan of action for you. And then there's a 15 text messaging follow-up that we do together just for a check-in to see how you're doing, and if you need any encouragement or you need any support or whatever that might look like. So you get that within the 30 days following your 60-minute session. This is something that I just feel so lit up about. Leaving the spiritual community and ideologies that are just so heavily rooted in basically re-traumatizing yourself because you're becoming your own savior And so when you have to be your own savior, then you have to be the decision maker, and you have to be the warrior, and you have to be the catalyst for all things, and you have to be the cheerleader, where it's like you can remove all of that by coming to Jesus and recognizing that he is all those things for you. So for my burnt out moms, or my heavily anxious moms, or my moms in postpartum, or my moms who are facing depression, or my moms are just in a season of change in their life, in whatever season you're in, my ladies, maybe you're chasing the idea of finding someone or getting married or starting your family. Maybe you're building a career at this point in your life and you don't really know what to do next because your whole identity has become your career. These things can so easily become our idols if we're not submitting to a God who loves us so deeply and knows that our end and our beginning is not rooted in the things that we chase temporarily in each season of our lives. Because one day you live the life of what you've prayed for, and then what? Well, there's another goal to reach for, there's another marker to strive for, another ladder to climb. And though those things are good, and though those things are beneficial, if you want to create anything in your life, even if it's just for like hobby purposes, interests that you want to play around with and have fun with, we need something that we are rooted in that helps remind us that that's not who we are. You know, I look at my daughter, she sings and she has this wonderful music talent. And a lot of her identity currently is very rooted and revolves around that gift that God gave her. And so a lot of times the recognition that God gave her this gift is really a miss. And I looked at her one day and I said, what would you do if you didn't have this talent anymore? Who would you be? And she kind of just looked at me and said, well, I don't know. As if she never considered that that talent could maybe get taken away from her. Get arthritis in your hands, you break your wrists, something happens with your voice box, or God forbid, hopefully not, but you get cancer, something that impacts your throat, something that impacts your ability to sing, something that impacts your ability to play, something happens to your shoulder or your back so you can't play the piano or play the guitar anymore. And not that this is like you should be rooted in the fear of losing the thing that you've been gifted to be able to do. No. But what I'm trying to make the case for is that if your whole identity is rooted in the very things that you know you're good at, then you're no better than the ability to do those things. But those things can get taken away from us. It's like mothers who idolize their children or their spouse or themselves. One day we won't wake up, and that's a reality. One day something may happen to our children, and God forbid I never pray that over anybody's life. And I don't want anyone to walk away from this thinking like, oh wow, like I might lose my kids or myself or my health or my house or my spouse or my life. No. I'm trying to make the case that life is fleeting, it's temporary, that there's a place that we are promised beyond this world. And so if we're stuck in the throes of fixating on diets and meal prepping and organization in our home, or our kids' schedules are just jam packing our schedules constantly with things for our kids to do, where are you living? Where do you have time to sit down in the quiet and listen to what God might be showing you in your life in any season, for any reason? Because when we remove God, when we remove Christ from the equation, we get anxious, we get confused, we get depressed. We start to fixate on the things that what we can control, and the reality is that we can control nothing. Right? You might wake up with you finally reached having $10,000 in savings in your bank account, and you worked really diligently hard for it. And then one day you wake up and someone hacked your bank account and the $10,000 is gone. And well, you needed that. Maybe it was the down payment for a house. Maybe it was your emergency fund, whatever. right? And we're not sitting here trying to focus on all the things that could go wrong. Again, my case is for that everything that we work for is temporary, it's fleeting. And we should still strive for those things. Let me be clear. We should still strive to provide a wonderful future for our kids. And we should strive to have a really great relationship and marriage with our spouse. And we should strive to build things that, even if they're as hobbies for ourselves, we should strive to do these things. But we can't root ourselves in the identity of who we are with those titles, is what I'm trying to say. And that is what spirituality, the spiritual community, and personal development hinges on: how many titles you can stack behind your name. And so you develop an ego and a pride, but then you're also told that you need to constantly fight against that because your ego and your pride is bad. So don't have that. You need to dismantle it, but you need to chase. You need to chase the next title and the next accolade and the next achievement. And so you're going to get like a thing, a stance, a new name behind your name. But for what? And again, those things are great. And those things can be good, and they can be rooted in the pursuit of helping people and saving people and doing incredible things. But if your identity is rooted in them, then you've already lost your way. Then the enemy's got you in a trap. So what we focus on here is consistent, sustainable habits through and through in all areas of your life. Because when your home is at peace and your self is at peace and you're diligent in your walk with Christ, whatever that might look like, of course, rooted in biblical principles. I felt like I needed to make that clear. Then all other things become so much easier. It doesn't matter if your business takes off or your hobby takes off or your relationship takes a while to repair or restore, or your kids take a while to get to wherever they're going, or whatever it is that you're looking to achieve and attain. It doesn't matter how long it takes. It doesn't matter what it takes, because you get to do those things in the push and the pulls of life, in the throes of life, and you get to experience the struggles and the challenges and the highs and the lows, but you don't lose your peace in it. You don't lose yourself in it, because you keep coming back to Jesus every single day. And that gets to be the most important thing above all else, and he will make your path straight. Submit to him in all your ways and he will make your path straight. Proverbs 3:5-7. So that's what we're doing over here. And I'm so excited to just go through every faction of life and make the case for Christ in it and healthy, sustainable, simple behaviors in it. And behaviors and habits that support your life, support where you're at and what you're striving for. Because if you're looking at Cindy's health plan or Miriam's house chores, or you're looking at Kathy's lifestyle and relationships and all the things she's doing, you're going to lose yourself in all of that too. We don't need to do what they are doing, because God has a very beautiful, specific plan for you. But we got to start listening to him. And wow, does it make everything else really cool to experience. Joyful. Joy comes in the morning and through Christ alone. So I'm going to end this podcast episode here. All the things that I talked about are going to be linked in the show notes below, whether it's finding me on Instagram, whether it's going and grabbing your own 90 Days of Restoration workbook, whether it's jumping into the program. Right now, I am in the final phase of 90 days. I'm really going through my faith journey, and it has just been a constant reminder of how often I abstain from going to God when there's challenges in my life, and how much it's thrown me into his arms in this season. It was like everything was going well. Like I didn't have any complaints. There was nothing challenging me. And I came into June and it was like everything just like crumbled in front of me. And it was like, whoa, what do I do with this? And I am someone who doubles down on like self-control. Like, what can I control and what can I make happen in this space, in this situation, And I really realized that that wasn't the lesson, nor was that the solution or the answer. It was, I need to give this to God first, and He will literally make my path straight. And He did. And it's been eye opening and jaw dropping, some of the things that have happened where I'm just like, whoa, like that's a God thing. There, hands down, there's no way that I could have ever moved anything around to make what happened happen. And you can experience these things too, but based on your life and your situations. And you just get to see Him move the mountains and part the seas in your life too. So I love you. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Let me know about the sound quality. I think I might be replacing this microphone, but it's going to do for now. All right. I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care.